spook easily stung.
Have you ever explored the depths of fear? Have you ever wondered what depravity dwells within the imagination of a storyteller that prompts them to exhume horrors untold and expose those horrors to unsuspecting audiences? Some are repulsed, and some are shaken. However, there are those who are invigorated. So to those demented souls, we invite you to journey inward into the dark bowels of human imagination. Press play, and you will discover what's in the podcast.
You think it's over just because I'm dead? It's not over. Hello, Officer Rick. You have witnessed your colleagues disappear. Tonight, I give you the opportunity to save everyone.
Take off the mask, put your hands in the air.
The games have just begun.
What do you want from me?
I want to know if you have what it takes. Vengeance can change a person. Make you into something you never thought you were capable of being. You think it's the living that will have ultimate judgment over you. Because the dead will have no claim over your soul.
No, I'm not gonna die! I'm not gonna die!
But you may be mistaken. But I am still among you. The beginning. You have watched others suffer. Now it is your turn to play. My work will continue.
And welcome back to another edition of What's in the Podcast, Legacies of Fear edition. Previously on Legacies of Fear, we were talking about the Saw franchise, editions 1 through 3, or as we affectionately call it, the Amanda Young saga. But now we must veer into turbulent, chaotic territory with the Hoffman saga. Saws 4 through 7, to be precise. And of course, much like last time, we are bringing in my resident Saw expert, Emily Green, who is also now in the aftermath of Dragon Con. Also, I am now Saw Daddy, apparently.
Brought that upon yourself.
I kind of did, actually. So yeah, I'll go ahead and throw some of this up. But yeah, you were pretty much at the epicenter of what made Dragon Con special this year, just because I debuted my Jigsaw cosplay doing a lot of makeup effects, which I had never done before, and you helped me unveil it to the world, and hopefully I made you look good.
Oh, yeah. And also, thanks to you and your lovely partner, I now do Saw X Amanda, which I never thought I would, thanks to a gifted wig that is too good. So now I have to do it.
Yeah. And it was a $5 human hair wig.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah. And now we're coming up with every kind of excuse possible to reunite and hopefully get... you were telling me about Mad Monster Party, so I'm really and the video footage you showed me of it looked very promising. So we've definitely been talking about heading out there just in general. So I don't know, we'll revisit that in due course. But in the meantime, so now we're getting into Saws 4 through 7, which at this point, Saw Frenzy had been, was coming out like crazy. This is, the torture porn label had been well and truly set in stone for horror, and Saw pretty much had always been like at the forefront of that particular title. So let's go ahead and focus on the idea of torture porn. I mean, I actually know a lot of people who kind of, especially Saw fans, who kind of resent that term. So how do you feel about the term torture porn?
I've always found it to be pretty accurate, especially when it came to Saw and this era of Saw, where I kind of feel like they never thought it was going to keep going on this long, and because they had to suddenly scramble to get new plot going, they were relying heavily on the traps and the fact that people are going to come for the gore torture porn. So yeah. I think it's pretty accurate.
I think maybe it just be because I have so many friends who work in porn, but I think it's like when I think porn, I think like you get off on it. When I think the whole purpose of having torture in horror, that's supposed to make you be scared of pain.
I just think it's I guess because you could say the same about poverty porn, as people watch movies to make them feel better because of their situation not being that. So I think torture porn is the same thing. You feel better that you're not in that situation. So it's just a means of feeling better, I suppose.
So I guess the best thing to do is just jump right in, since we got 4 movies to get through. So Saw 4 was up to this point, well, at least up until Spiral, was the last film directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, but it was the first one to be written by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan, who would go on to write all 4 of these movies. And then after that would go on to do the Collector films as well.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen those?
Yes, I saw the first one recently and the second one a long time ago, so I don't remember much about it, but I've always been like drawing parallels to Saw. It's very related.
Kind of. I mean, that one definitely has much more of a straightforward slasher with a major helping of the Saw element to it. I mean, this guy's just setting up traps just to set up traps. He's like he loves Home Aloneing his house.
Oh yeah, it's very Home Alone.
Yeah. Oh, very Home Alone. I mean, honestly, I think the Collector is Kevin McAllister.
Yeah, they've said that about Jigsaw, but I think the Collector is definitely more Kevin McAllister.
Yeah, I think it's Kevin McAllister. Overprivileged white kid, has parental resentment, so he takes it out on any other privileged families.
Yeah, he's just a mischievous scallywag.
His first target was the Wet Bandits. So, all right. So, yeah. So Saw 4 kicks off as we've said before, the Hoffman saga, where now I'm trying to remember, I guess maybe I should have rewatched Saw 3, but Hoffman wasn't introduced until Saw 4, correct?
He was in 3 just as a detective that showed up to find Carrie, but we didn't know anything about him.
Okay. All right. So yeah, he didn't really take center stage until this. Well, and if you really want to be fair, he doesn't actually have center stage in Saw 4. He just appears a lot.
Right. He's a quote unquote victim, one of the victims until you find out he's not.
Oh, and we should probably do a full spoiler warning on this sucker. We are going to go hard. We are going to go hard into spoilers on this baby. So you have been warned. In fact, I do know it had most of them are now on some of the streaming services now. I want to say either Max or Peacock or one of those. But I definitely think
they keep moving around, but they're somewhere.
Yeah, they're definitely somewhere. So no excuse, everybody. You got places to find them. So all right. So to begin, let's go ahead and give a brief synopsis of Saw 4.
Okay, so I've given cute little names to all the intro traps as well.
Okay.
So our intro trap, which I call See No, Speak No Evil, has one of our detectives. I'm not sure if the other guy in the trap is relevant, the guy who can't see.
Yeah, I don't think he was.
Okay, I didn't think he was either.
The guy who couldn't speak is very relevant.
Right. So he escapes that trap. And now the main target of the game in this one is Lieutenant Rigg, who is a SWAT commander who's obsessed with saving people and to a fault. And I guess that's his sin. We find out that Eric is still alive. Curse you, rewrites.
Well, did we ever actually see Amanda actually kill him?
I have a picture of it. There's no footage of it, but I have a picture of she stabs him in the neck.
Okay, so they filmed it, they just never included it in the final cut.
Yeah, and you can't really find the footage anywhere. But there is screenshot.
I'm wondering, because they were making the 4th film, I wonder if they deliberately cut that out specifically. So
and part of the frustration is in 3 when John is berating Amanda for all of her unwinnable games, like, you never gave him a chance. They show the beginning of that scene. She's walking away after Eric beat the shit out of her, and it shows her turning back and walking back towards him with this look on her face like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill you. And then they just cut it. And because they cut it, there's no reason John should have been berating her for that. She let him live. It's not her fault. He escaped and came after her.
Well, I mean, she still freaking killed Adam.
Yeah, but he was talking about Eric in that scene. Which is why they even bothered showing the whole beatdown scene in that hallway. It was supposed to end with her killing him.
Well, I mean, there was still the guy with the chains all in his business, welding the doors. Yeah, that was totally her doing that.
Oh no, of course.
Yeah. So she still did her thing that John don't like. So
Oh no,
his outrage was still real.
oh the outrage is fine. It's just that specific scene didn't need to be
Ah,
there because Eric no longer had relevance to that plot point anymore.
okay, that's a good. Okay, I see what you're talking about there. That does make sense. All
So
right,
Eric's
so
part of the game now. He's standing on a block of ice.
yeah,
And
with a broken foot.
Hoffman with a broken foot, and Hoffman is attached to his game by a seat that will be electrocuted if Eric steps off that block.
Hmm. Oh yeah, because all the
Uh,
water from the runoff
mhm.
will touch the wires and he'll get electrocuted, or yeah, or so we think.
Right. But this is
Yeah.
all what we see as the audience right now. And then running the game as sort of his own version of Zep is our officer who escapes the beginning trap. He's
Oh,
like,
actually, it's the lawyer Art Blank.
that's right. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
played by Louis Ferreira, who fans of the pod will know as the boyfriend Craig from Hello Mary Lou Prom Night 2.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
there's a nice deep cut right there. Ah,
Very cool.
yeah, yeah. So let's focus on Rig. It's funny that they call him out for being like this person who has to save everybody, but it's like, where did this character trait come in? I don't remember him exhibiting these traits in 2 and 3. He just seemed like the
Right?
hothead SWAT guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But yeah,
and they made a point of saying never breach a door. You don't know what's behind it, and that kind of takes place later. He's sort of, he's like you said, the hothead who kind of doesn't take the precautions. He doesn't go by the book enough, and that's, I guess, part of his problem.
hmm yeah, and the whole thing is like they're testing him to see these people can save themselves, so don't bother.
It's like in these people's case, you shouldn't. Like he's saying, do not save them.
It's a best way to kind of sum up this whole movie. For all intents and purposes, this movie is just plays as just a means to hop off into the next film to say, oh, here's another apprentice.
Yeah, I will say of all the Saw movies, I'm going to mention that this is, in my opinion, the weakest one. I think the traps were really rushed. They kind of gloss
Mm,
over a lot of them that Rig encounters because he's not supposed to do anything. He's just supposed to watch, I guess. It's supposed to, I guess, set him up as an apprentice, but we don't know who's setting him up.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't even get any of some of the other key players like well, actually this one does introduce a couple of key players. Of course, we have Agent Strom and of course Agent Perez
Hmm.
in this one, and they come into much greater prominence in 5 and 6. But yeah, this one I always kind of say about TV shows how, especially long running ones, that there are some seasons that at the end of it you just feel like, okay, what really happened? And it's like, oh, it's because it's a transitional. It's just setting up the
Hmm.
pieces so that way when we get into the next one, that's when the real shit starts happening.
Yeah.
And even when I first saw 4, I was like going, this is all innate of just setting shit up for
Yeah.
the cool shit later,
Yeah, it's
which we
filler.
do. Yeah, I think I can see what you're feeling about this one being one of the weaker ones, and it's definitely lower on the tier for me.
Hmm.
I don't remember any of the. I think the only trap that really kind of like I was. You see how I didn't say blow my mind, because it would have been appropriate, and but nah. But no, the one that I will say was that made me go, holy shit, was when Matthews gets his head crushed by 2 giant ice
Yeah.
blocks. Because
Yes.
I do love me a good head smash.
We got horror dad jokes going on here. Is that what's going
We've had. Did you rewatch our last episode? We already had them out.
on?
They're already out. I'm trying to
Hell
hold
yeah.
back.
Oh no.
Other people, other people are getting over their booze addiction they got at Dragon Con. I'm getting over my dad joke addiction.
Can't get over the dad joke addiction.
Well, I don't know. I was an old man with cancer doing Gangnam Style.
So embarrassing, Dad.
So is Gangnam Style, but you know what? It's a bigger word. You can't stop. Actually, another major thing that is important to note about this one, this is a introduction to another key player that, throughout these 4 films, Jigsaw's wife, Jill Tuck.
Yeah.
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 Let me have it. Let me have it.
Well, what I will say is that the movies that she's in, I feel like she just kind of dicks around the whole movie. She's there, we know she exists, but it's like, what are you even doing in these movies? What are you doing,
um,
man?
well, she does kind of. I suppose in the grand scheme, is she kind of represents everything Jigsaw was actually trying to. Like she kind of represents his end game. Like he was kind of meant to give. Then again, it's like, yeah, you're now branded as the wife of a serial killer. I mean, I don't know how everything you're doing is going to improve on her life, kind of
Yeah,
thing.
she
But
she just gets harassed by cops a whole lot.
yeah, she really does. Especially Straw, man. He gets
Hmm.
unnecessarily emotional
Oh yeah.
uh, to her, like throwing stuff around. And though I will
Mm.
say, the one bit of frustration which I totally get, where he's like asking a question, and she's like, "Do you know anything about the Chinese zodiac?" And he's like, "Oh no, no." It's like, yeah, that'd be a normal reaction if someone just answered a question with a question like that.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. The big thing I have to praise about this movie, um, the opening of the movie, which no, the cold open is you're watching Jigsaw's autopsy
Yeah.
being done.
Yeah.
Which,
I guess we
firstly, credit.
brushed over that.
Yeah, we should have brushed over. Yeah, we should not though, because frankly, it's a great opening. And for anyone who's going like, no, no, there's no way he's dead. There's no way Jigsaw's dead, because I know a lot of people, and even the creators, have in hindsight said they regret
Oh
ever
yeah.
killing Jigsaw with slow ass motherfucking Jeff.
Oh
But
God.
yeah, so they had to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, no, there's no way you survive getting slashed in the
Hmm.
throat with a circular saw. He is dead. And so
Yeah.
I just love we have this long, very drawn out autopsy sequence,
Yeah.
just proving beyond a shadow of a doubt, no, John Kramer is bona fide fucking dead. You
Right.
can't fake that shit.
And that autopsy, we find the tape that he swallows in 3 that is a message to Hoffman.
I'm just impressed he was able to swallow that bitch whole.
Shame.
I feel like going, John, did you have a history
How?
as a
Yeah.
fellatio prostitute in your
I was
younger
like,
days? Is that
damn, dude.
is that how you paid for engineering school?
Man's got skills, and not the
Definitely,
ones we thought he had.
definitely not. I was impressed. I was really impressed. I don't need to think about Tobin Bell's relationship skills.
No.
No, definitely not. But yeah, it was. But in wonderful Saw fashion, the one thing I will say I loved about the finale is that, much like Saw 2, they played with our perception of what's happening in relation to each other at the same time, because this whole autopsy is actually happening at the tail end of the movie.
Yes.
And in fact, everything happening in Saw 4 is paralleling what's happening in Saw 3. So we actually find out what happened to slow ass motherfucking Jeff. We find out that everything is happening at the same time as Saw 3. So that's actually pretty. So that part I did enjoy. And that part made me go, oh, yeah, look at you, Jeff, you dumbass.
It's happening at the same
Mm.
time, and I bet Rig got through his traps way faster.
Yeah. Jill Tuck in this case was just for the sake of introducing, just also to give some more insight into her, and well, also insight into John's past. Actually, let me see if I don't think this is the one where we find out. Oh no, it is. But
We find about
basically,
a Cecil killing Gideon,
yeah,
John's son.
yeah, we find out. I think it's here that we really do find out that life really came at John Kramer with his pants down,
Oh
because
yeah.
it wasn't just the cancer. This
Hmm.
guy, life just shit on him at every
Yeah.
turn.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it's like, can you blame the guy for wanting to off himself? And now all of a sudden, yeah, it's like, yeah.
And he couldn't even do that, so he was like, all right. Guess I'll
Well, to
just
his credit,
come Jigsaw now.
driving a car off a cliff, that usually tends to be an ipso facto way to kill yourself. And the fact that you
Yeah.
crawl
Yeah,
out
that
and still are
was
able to survive.
that was the point of his message, is all this shit happening to me and I couldn't even kill myself.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I'm feeling good. I
Mhm.
want people to feel as good as I do, but it seems like the only way I can make them feel good is to give them their own near-death experience.
Yes. The traps that Rig has to go through are like all over the city, so he has to like go find him in a motel room and like an
Yeah,
abandoned school. Like wow, like he's got this shit set up everywhere.
yeah. Of course, that's the thing that we always have to laugh about. That's something I noticed all fans just laugh about, is how ridiculously elaborate this whole thing is, and the idea that John Kramer devised everything with these acolytes doing the job, like setting everything up for him. It's like they're, and I even like how when they go to this hotel, or they go to the hotel, they're like, how did he set up all this with no one noticing? It's like very gradually.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that the whole trap with the bed happens in an active like motel where there's other people living there. So I'm like, does nobody hear all this going on through your wall?
Well, look at the guy running the place. I mean, I'm pretty sure he soundproofed those rooms. This guy's a career. This guy's a career rapist. I think it's safe to say he soundproofed the shit out of those rooms.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that was your downfall.
Yeah. Honestly, I wish they had pointed that out, because that would have been a wonderful bit of karmic retribution for that guy.
True.
Yeah. Actually, that was an interesting thing about Riggs' whole journey in general, is that none of the traps are happening to him. It's happening to people he's encountering.
Right. Yeah. Because he's, like I said, I don't know if that's the point or if it was just a distraction. It looks as if he's being trained to be another apprentice. Like, you are not supposed to take part in these tests. You're supposed to observe.
Absolutely. And but in the meantime, we also get like the start of Jigsaw, where obviously his traps weren't perfect right out of the gate. We do see his first trap with Cecil, where he has to put his face through a bunch of knives in order to flick the switch to free him. But of course, that trap ends up breaking, and he ends up just dying by getting tangled up in a mess of razor wire.
Yeah, it was a conveniently placed razor wire crib he had behind him.
I wouldn't say convenient. I mean, because again, he did do a trap with razor wire. I'm pretty sure he was prepping for it. So he was like, well, where do I need to stash this?
It just happened to be right in the line of fire of Cecil attacking him.
Oh, no, I just love how John does a big old ole.
Oh, yeah.
Ole! Yeah. One thing we should talk about, because we actually did not talk about when we talked about 2 and 3, about Darren Lynn Bousman and his direction. And I've noticed no other director has done it, but one thing about Darren Lynn Bousman, the way no one has done the scene transitions like he did in this one. I mean, he really did. His movies in the Saw franchise are definitely the most energetic, because he always has a great flow from scene to scene. Because in the first one, when Matthews like wakes up, puts on his jacket, goes out a door, and all of a sudden he's in the hall at the crime scene. Waiting till, but Bousman has a lot of those. And actually this one had a great one where Rig, the first woman he saves, when she tries to kill him, he grabs her, throws her through a mirror, but then the camera just goes through the mirror with her, and we're in the next scene already. I wish they had cut. I wish the other directors, David Hackle and Kevin Kreider, kind of followed suit with those, because I think it would have gave a nice visual coherence, consistency with the other films.
Yeah, I did notice that. That's like, that was a very interesting key thing about these films that he directed, and I'm like, where'd they go? Where'd those cool transitions go? Or we're like one place and then another.
It went with the director, man. I mean, yeah, that kind of makes me sad. Actually, just last night I watched both Devil's Carnivals, and yeah, that same great flair for scene flow and transitioning is like all with him. So it's really a shame that the other directors didn't take a cue and like decide to model the rest of the movies on it. But especially when we go into Saw 5, I mean, do you think we've actually before we transition into the next one? So yeah, you're right. A lot of the traps in this one were kind of meh, but what would you say was the one that stood out the most?
I think the scalping, because that's just, it hurts to watch.
Yeah, I don't know if we discussed thresholds last time, but yeah, that was one. I don't know, that was. I think it's just the ripping sound. It just it's like she gets out of it.
Slow. Like every time it's like more of her hair is fucked up and like starts bleeding. It's a slow, painful kind of thing.
Would have been, jokes on her. This is a lace front. I'm actually like Though I think they probably would have planned for that. One I did think was kind of wonderfully psychological. It's not my favorite, but it's the one where the couple are have rods through each other. He's got them all through his vitals, but and it's her decision to pull them out. I'm like, I kind of like, I will say I like the ones that have the psychological edge, where it's kind of like the idea of, is your life more important than the person who's been abusing you?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like the way they do that. Though I did find it odd that there was one where a medical examiner afterwards gets shot in the face with a dart. I'm like, you just left that just sitting around.
Oh yeah.
That's honestly, I wish someone would have been filming that. That would have been a great like gag
Oh
reel for
yeah.
the policeman's ball.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of
Yeah,
shot in
you're
the
right.
face, we have Perez ends up in the hospital because a billy puppet explodes in her face, which I'm sorry. I know you're listening to a tape and you're trying to figure out what's being whispered on that tape, but if you hear some kind of mechanical ticking and a creepy doll, maybe don't lean really close to it.
Yeah, and even then, that's a death trap right there. It still makes me go like, okay, this is obviously not Kramer with this sucker because
Yeah.
that could kill, and that's
Yeah.
kind of whole spitting in the face of. But then again, I keep forgetting. Jigsaw did set up a trap where a guy gets his head blown off with a shotgun in the first one,
Yes.
but that's security. That's
It
just
was just
security.
security. Yeah, he does have some
Yeah,
security, like the hidden
yeah,
blade and things like that. He's got to
yeah,
protect himself.
and the trick stairs,
Hmm.
that maim a whole bunch of SWAT. So yeah,
Yeah.
but this one wasn't security. This was a calling card. It was like going, hey,
Mhm.
come here, closer, closer,
Yeah. Come here, come
closer.
here. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something. Come on, glass in your face. But I guess they had to get Perez out of the game to,
Hmm.
kind of do a big old, oh, she's alive later on, even though it seemed pretty clear that she was alive from that point on. So obviously you saw, I mean, so when did you see Saw 4? Did you see it when it first came out?
Yeah, I think I saw all of them in theaters when they first
Okay.
came out.
All right. So what was your reaction did you have any inkling that Hoffman was
Oh man, you're asking me to remember when I was like 18 years old. I
yes,
have
I am.
no
Yes, I
idea.
am.
Um, I only thoroughly understood these four movies and the plot uh because I for this podcast I've researched it. Um, I don't remember what I thought about Hoffman. I think I just thought it was kind of a very rushed, like of course they have to get these movies out and they're
Mhm.
competing with Paranormal Activity. We can't fall behind. We gotta pump them out every single year. Let's go, let's go, let's go. But then we just kill
Yeah.
everybody. How do we
Yeah. It's like,
recover from that?
well, that Paranormal Activity, yeah, that really started coming into prominence a little bit after this, but that one very quickly was starting to steal the Halloween game
Yeah.
from it. But that would not, they wouldn't be feeling the sting of that till later on.
I'll say we didn't even talk about how this all ends. How Rick walks
Yeah.
through the door thinking he has to beat a timer, because of course you have a clock counting down, you gotta hurry. But it
And you
turns out
think, yeah,
if he
if he
walks
just
through that
waited,
door too fast, yeah, never breach a door that you don't know what's behind it. That's the rule.
and he
So
just,
because he breached it too fast, Eric got killed.
yeah, and well, everyone but Hoffman got killed in that
Mm-hmm.
scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Which
that's like,
which I think the other question you ask usually is the most impactful death, and I think Eric is because
mhm.
he was such a tool in the last movies.
Oh yeah, a massive tool but even then, the guy's been kept in captivity. And it's
Mhm.
like there's a little part of you, and you saw how hell bent he was to try to get his son back or to
Oh yeah.
save
Oh, he
his
was a
son, everything.
broken man in this one, man. He barely
Yeah.
said anything.
And it's sad because you're thinking like, man, if he gets out of this, he's probably going to be a much better guy
Uh,
as a result of this. But man, that is a kick in the nuts right there that he gets his head smashed. And I think this is where I'm kind of like with you on our feelings towards Hoffman because it's like Hoffman will kill if it threatens him, and I think keeping Matthews alive would have threatened him. So
mm,
I think that's where it all lands, and I think that is a good segue into Saw 5 because you kind of see that with a lot of the traps that Hoffman himself sets up.
hmm.
Yeah, in fact, actually, Saw 5 kind of kicks off with one with Strom basically being one of the biggest fucking badasses of all time. With the freaking and fun behind the scenes story on this one. Yeah, Scott Peterson, who played Strom, like as one could assume, was very trepidatious about doing a whole scene where his head's going to be in a freaking
Hmm.
box that's going to be full of water, especially
Hmm.
since they tested it and it did not go well
Right.
for
Yeah,
the
that
first couple of goes.
I would
Yeah.
be very nervous because my one of my biggest fears is suffocating. So I'm like, oh, you're gonna do what? You're gonna film me holding my breath in a box of water. That hopefully, if I do this and tap against it, you guys will release me. Okay.
Which is going to be fun to differentiate that, since the whole thing of him is him grabbing the box, freaking out and all that. But he did it, though. He did it.
Yeah,
And yeah,
that's
you're
badass.
right. You're right. That is actually, and you know what? It was visually singular, because how many people did? Heck, at Dragon Con, we saw people cosplaying that moment.
Yes. Which I
Yes, we
love.
did.
I
Yeah.
love seeing more than the typical traps whenever I see Saw cosplayers. Oh my god. We saw
I
an
mean,
Adam. We saw Gordon. We saw Strom.
Yeah.
There was an
Yes, we
adorable
did
pink
see.
trap.
Yes, that's right. We did see Dr. Gordon, didn't we? That's
Yeah, the
right.
first day it was Gordon and Adam walking around with like a severed foot on a pink chain. They were so adorable. Those girls were great.
Yeah, they were freaking awesome. That made me
Wonderful.
happy. Now it's like, ooh, let's take the time to think about if we could, what other traps could be cosplayable.
I've seen somebody do the hands up in the box like above their head, but I was like, you're
Oh,
gonna
really?
hold your arms like that the entire
Yeah.
con? Oh my god.
Oh, actually, I did at Spooky in May. I did see someone cosplay as Gabriella from Saw
Oh,
X.
nice. Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
God, I gotta get her into our group.
yeah, or you gotta get yourself over to Spooky.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true. I know. Yeah, no, what she did, she had the chain on one hand, so when she was doing shots, she would have someone like raise the chain up, and she had like burn makeup on her face and everything. It looked awesome. It looked great.
Wonderful.
It ashamed me that it took me so long to realize who it was, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's right. So
Very cool.
yeah. No, that's how you get a big old cosplay group going together, like trying to get all the like standout traps you like to do, like have someone be the police chief from Spiral and just cover her head just black goop and just have burn marks and all that. That'd be awesome. I'd love it. That's a fun way to transition into Saw 5. This time directed by David Hackle, who was an editor for the first couple Saw. I think he was an editor on the first couple Saw movies, and it's the dream of every editor to finally get the job to direct. And how do you think he fared compared to Darren Lynn Bousman?
I had no problem with his directing, honestly. Because did he do 5 and 6?
No, he just did 5.
Just
he only
5.
directed once.
Just 5.
Yeah, he only directed once.
It didn't seem jarring to me. Like, obviously we're missing the transitions that are known for Darren, but I wasn't really taken out of like, this is a different director, I'm alarmed. Like, I didn't feel like that at all.
Yeah. So now compared to 4, how did you feel about 5 when you first saw it?
I had more fun with 5. The traps were a little more I'd say elaborate and focused on.
Yeah.
And how they were presented this time was kind of back to where 2 was, really, with the group of people having to work together.
Yeah, I mean, because there is that trick where you have the trap plot, but then you have the whole plot with the police trying to, solve everything, and it's tricky because you got to do what does this have to do with the other? Where do they connect? And it turns out this one does actually finally connect by the tail end of it as a big old frame job, because that's ultimately Hoffman's scheme, is to frame Strom, which is a brilliant scheme. Yeah. So
Hoffman from the get-go is trying to blame everything on everybody else. Oh, it's the Angel Trap. Amanda Young did that. Oh, it's Strom. He's off his rocker. He's a Jigsaw apprentice. Like, but the whole time I feel like always trying to focus on Hoffman and how do we prove it was you? Because the starting trap in this one is the pendulum, who the target of this trap is the guy who killed Hoffman's sister, Seth Baxter. So once they realize that, they start focusing on, is this a Jigsaw trap? Because it was unwinnable. That seems a little strange.
Oh, actually, let's go ahead and do brief synopsis onto Saw 5. Well, actually, I think we kind of already did. Basically, now Hoffman's out in the open for us, the audience, and it's all about us getting to know our happy new apprentice. I think that's kind of what Saw 5 really does serve, because here is where we get Hoffman's origin story, where we find out when he got, like, what got Jigsaw's attention and what ultimately landed him in the fold with them, with Jigsaw. So yeah, that's kind of what it is. All the while, we're seeing a whole plot where Agent Strom, obviously distraught over how badly he was supposed to die in that water trap. That's the whole thing. That was unwinnable, and a testament to his badassery, he gives himself a tracheotomy.
Which you would think they would search his pockets and take out a pen that could possibly save his life if he knew how to do that.
Well,
Sloppy.
that's Hoffman for you. That is definitely Hoffman for you. He's good with instinct, but there are times where it's his lack of thinking about the minor details that ends up getting him kind of sussed out as well. Because the pendulum kill at the beginning, it would have been fine, except he had to use a serrated scalpel.
Yeah, and he's like, "What? You can tell the difference?" And like, of course, there's forensic scientists, man.
Yeah,
they can tell everything.
It's like, dude, have you ever cut a steak using a serrated steak knife versus using? It's like, dude, there actually is a difference.
Right.
You actually have to work with a serrated blade.
I'm surprised he did it with a serrated blade. Like, you're cutting this intricate little puzzle piece out of somebody and like cutting with a serrated blade.
I didn't even know there was such a thing as a serrated scalpel.
I didn't either.
Yeah, to me, it's like when I think like surgical tool, like any kind of surgical tools, it would have to be a fine blade to guarantee that. Yeah, to guarantee that it's not a like clean. You know, to make sure it's a clean cut. But I am not an expert. Listeners at home, if you actually work with scalpels and medical tools, please tell us if there actually is such a thing as a serrated scalpel.
And what do you use it for?
Yes. Well, yeah, what would you use that damn thing for? Actually, that's something we didn't talk about in the fourth one, but that's fine because it's kind of noticeable now. It's very clear they've got games, the creators behind these movies got games set up because they're setting up stuff that doesn't really come into play until like the next movie, practically. Because in Saw 4, we actually see John Kramer with the glass box. And that doesn't even remotely come into play in the fourth one. It doesn't come into play literally until the end of this movie.
Yeah.
And this one, we do see the further adventures of Jill Tuck, only this time she's called into their lawyer's office and she's given a box with 6 envelopes. Well, you don't even see what's in the box. You just know that she has a box. But you definitely see this vibe that Jill knows that for better or for worse, she's involved in the game and she hates it. It's like she didn't. Yeah, she didn't. And she never wanted to be part of this. She wanted to help people the normal way, have a nice clinic with crackheads and all that who you have to be talked down by John Kramer. Because if Tobin Bell stopped me saying that I'm his problem, I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'll be good. Tobin Bell made for a badass villain on 24. You know what? He could talk anyone down because he's so damn intimidating.
Oh yeah.
So
that voice alone is just, oh man, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You got it.
So at DragonCon, you and I were actually kind of laughing about this one because I think the epicenter of everything we love about Saw is, especially the dark comedy aspect, I feel is best encapsulated by the trap plot in this one. Yeah. For the very simple fact that as it plays out, to the wonderful grisly extremes, even down to people mutilating themselves with circular saws. But I think I was laughing so damn hard when they came to the realization that they were supposed to help each other out.
The entire game along the way, I caught them saying over and over, somebody has to die, somebody has to die. And I was like, when did he ever say somebody has to die?
Has to die.
He never says that. Why are you focusing on that?
He said wonderfully these words, your lifelong instincts will tell you to do one thing. I implore you to do the other.
Nobody ever listens to John.
No, exactly.
John or Amanda or anybody trying to offer advice.
See, now this is why we got to get out to Vegas so we could do that Saw escape room. And you and me together, I bet we could like totally listen to everything, like going, no. He means this. He means do it like this.
Hold on there.
Yeah, there was a way, especially that first trap with the V blades. There was a way you could have easily just in a calm, coordinated fashion. Even if you didn't realize that the keys worked for each lock, you still could have.
If you guys had just chilled the fuck out, but of course he chooses people who are frantic. I mean, you've got the drug addict who was gonna be a problem the entire time. I was like, this guy's gonna throw the entire thing off the rails because he's so anti everybody and out for himself.
Meanwhile,
he ends up
and then you
being
got Julie
the last one
Benz, who's like,
standing.
yeah, and then you got Julie Benz, who's like this really like cold as ice corporate bitch, who's like,
Yeah.
yeah, seriously hardcore. But then you got this reporter. Actually, the reporter in
Hmm.
particular, I know because there was a lot of 24 crossover in this series because a lot of actors I've seen on 24 were in this. But the actor who plays the reporter, actually, Carlo Rota,
Journalist, yeah.
yeah, he played a really great role in 24. Actually, he was a recurring character. Actually, no, he was a cast member on the show. His character, I guess, became popular and he carried him over into the later seasons. But yeah, his character, big old know-it-all, but man, big old dick. Do you find yourself, despite how morally dubious a lot of these characters are, and I'm talking just overall, just the entire franchise, do you find yourself more eager to see the traps come to fruition, or do you actually like root for them to actually pass?
It depends on the character, because these characters range from like, do they really deserve to be here, to, oh, this guy's a psychopath. So it really
Mhm.
just depends on the situations.
Yeah. I think in this instance, in this particular trap plot, I think the first girl who gets her head cut off, she was the only one where I was actually like sad
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because it's like, no, she was the one who was actually taking an active role, who was actually smart, who was actually like showing that she could have been valuable
Oh
to
yeah.
everybody. And then it's like, nope,
First one out.
nope, first one out.
No. Well, because
I
we
mean,
needed
that's
chaos, so we had to get rid of the order first.
actually, you know what? To hell with the escape room, Saw missed its opportunity to be a reality show.
Oh God, I know. Ah,
because much like Survivor, a lot of times the people you think are going to be like big players end up getting voted off the island like in the first day. And that's kind of the situation we got going on here, and then they get voted off immediately just because of the machinations of the assholes who stay
mhm.
behind. Exactly. But even asshole reporter guy could have easily survived. All they had to do was actually look. Hell, before they even set off the thing, they could have looked in the tubes, going, "Oh, hey, we all could fit in that."
Or people, yeah, I think this was the one where I was like, the twist was like, everybody was like, yeah, duh. Like,
Just fucking duh.
all these traps gave you guys all opportunities to survive. You just had to work together a little bit more. Like, no shit.
Mhm.
Like, two people could fit in one of those.
Two people can fit in. Well, I don't know. I mean, the reporter was, he was a little chunky around the midsection. Probably would have been a bit of a squeeze. But in any case,
Yes, I put two of the
in
girls
any,
in one of the tubes, and then they had the
yeah,
keys to open the other ones. It wasn't like only one
yeah,
of them could open.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. But then you got Julie Ben's character just freaking. Oh, actually, Britt was her name. In a ruthless fashion, didn't even wait for the game to start. Just freaking stabbed one of them through the neck and just put her body in
Yeah.
the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, that was brutal. Like, oh,
yeah.
we had to. You guys didn't think you could hold hands? You didn't think you could maybe all connect to the bath some other way without murdering
Hmm.
somebody?
Yeah. Just and again, like you nailed it. Jigsaw never said one person has to die in each
Yeah, they
one.
kept
Never said
saying that as if it was like part of the rules. I was like, when did it ever say somebody has to die in every room? Like,
never.
no. But they kept harping on it. Somebody has to die. No, they don't.
Yeah. I find it funny that the tweaker, the one who is basically responsible for the deaths of his, I like that he's the one at the end who really does like
Yeah.
show remorse for everything that's
Uh-huh.
happening because he's like, I just love at the tail end, like going, we deserve to be here.
Yeah, you got it. Nailed it.
Yeah. For that character in particular, it made me kind of feel bad because I'm like going, oh my god, no, the guy actually feels really bad about everything he did, and now unfortunately they're both going to walk out of here, looking like Rory Kinnear at the end of Men.
Oh yeah. And speaking of which, the reason they're all here is because they all had a hand in killing a lot
Not
of
anymore.
innocent people in the residents of a building that they took down.
Yeah, it's funny because you said they had a hand, and like now they don't.
Eh, this guy.
Ah,
This guy.
ah! It does all come to pass, like where you find out the whole reason why they're there. And yeah, this is exactly the kind of people that Jigsaw perfectly would target for this situation. But the big question is, what the hell does any of this have to do with the A plot, with Hoffman and with Strom and everything like that? Where it's clear that Hoffman is obviously trying to set up Strom to take the fall, and there was a part of me first time watching this going, what does one have to do with the other? I mean, at least the thing you could say about the core trap plot in 4 is that involves Rig and involves everyone tracking him because they think he's gone off his rocker or something like that. At least that connected. So I was like going, what did this, until you get to the tail end, you realize, oh, the trap plot's happening because Hoffman predicted that Mark Ralston, who most people know as Drake from Aliens, Erickson was his name, because he knew Erickson was going to be tailing him, and he knew to arrive at the right time when the trap plot was wrapping up to say, oh, I caught him red-handed. He was already torturing people. Yeah. And then leads, of course, to probably one of the best most sadistic twists of the franchise in my book. Is of course the big glass box. We get the big reveal with the big glass box.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many movies where some people are in this scenario of the walls closing in.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen one where it's actually come to fruition.
If it ever has, you don't get to like see bones breaking. You just hear screaming and then it's over or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, and actually a fun little bit of trivia about that. Where is this? Oh yeah. Patterson, Strom, he actually didn't know that he was going to die at the end. They did a body cast of his arms.
Oh, really?
They did a body cast of his arms, but he still didn't know for sure. And apparently a lot of that is because they shot multiple endings. And I think they just went with the one that played the best. And let's face it, this one did play the best.
Interesting. Huh. Which, to me, that kind of shows how they were with these characters. They were kind of winging it as they went. Because if Strom had survived, they'd have to write him into the next one.
Yeah. Or at the very least, incapacitate him so he kind of sits out around.
Right.
It's kind of odd to me that they would ever consider any other ending but this. It just seems like the right way to go to, make Hoffman. I think the important thing about this movie was to show how ruthless and how effective Hoffman actually is, not even as a Saw apprentice, but as a killer. Not only will he do, everything in the name of Jigsaw, but he will do whatever it takes to survive. And a lot of times I think what it is about him is that his survival instincts, more often than not, counteract the game, like what he's supposed to be doing, what the whole...
Oh, sure. No, he mows over everybody in his path, even other apprentices, as you've seen with Amanda. So it's like he's out for himself at the end of this whole thing. He's not out for John or whatever.
Exactly. Kramer would have, with that water tank helmet plot or trap in the beginning, Kramer would have given him a way to get out. He would have actually told him the right way to do it. Actually, funny enough, I think, knowing Kramer, the tracheotomy, he would have actually given him the tools to do a proper tracheotomy.
That's true. Be like, you want to survive, this is how you have to do it. It's going to suck.
Yeah. Honestly, if anything, it's kind of sad to me Kramer didn't actually recruit Strom, because I think he would have been a much better...
Yeah, right?
He would have been a much better apprentice.
You're right. You picked the wrong one, man.
But with that being said, Hoffman does actually have a good motivation for why he did that kill to begin. Why he killed Seth Baxter to begin with.
No, it was all because vengeful towards his sister. Yeah.
Yeah, and in his defense, we actually do see the crime scene of what happened to his sister. That's and it's very clear, and it's also clear that he had love and affection. It's not something it's easy to get over.
Yeah.
And you're working a case where someone is punishing people like Seth Baxter, so it's like, hey.
Right. You can't take your revenge out on somebody and try to blame it on Jigsaw. He's not going to like that.
Which he doesn't. And admittedly, just strapping a shotgun to him.
Yeah.
That wasn't exactly one of John's best works right there. Well, granted.
No, I mean, it wasn't a trap. He was just like, you're going to sit here and you're going to listen to me.
Yeah. I mean, to John's credit, that shotgun was half loaded. Like one of the barrels was full. So I think a lot of it was also a matter of whether or not he pulls the right trigger or something like that. I don't know. But that's also where we get that wonderful "killing is distasteful" line. It's like, really, John?
Yeah.
I know we already talked about that in the previous scene, but we're
murderers.
We're just like, murder says what?
Yeah.
Murder says what? What?
I never made them kill themselves. They did that on their own. I just strapped them to a death machine.
Oh no, you're giving me the second degree. Come on, buddy. Yeah, no, but again, this is one thing that I got to give credit to the creative behind the whole franchise. They are fully aware that John Kramer is full of bullshit, and many times in the movies they do call him out on it.
I mean, yeah, Amanda does after she loses her mind in 3. She's just like, it's all bullshit. Like,
Again, when we get to Saw X, we'll discuss that at length.
oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll discuss that at length because, well, actually, we can kind of discuss it when we get to. Oh, God, we are so good at transitions because that's actually a good transition to get into Saw 6. The insurance one, which actually is one of my other favorites of the franchise. This is definitely in my top 5 of the franchise, right here. I don't know where does this one land on you? Oh, this one's in yours too.
Oh yeah, Amanda's back.
Well, she is. We actually do get a lot more. Yeah, we do get more.
Get a lot more backstories to how she connects to John and why we've speculated he targeted her. It was never actually said why he targeted her, other than you're a drug addict, but she has a greater connection to him than just that.
Mm-hmm. And you can see that she legitimately had affection for John. You really do see that she was protective of him in this movie.
Yeah,
specifically, and
you also get that wonderful sibling rivalry between her and Hoffman.
Yeah, that kind of is. I honestly, I hope against hope that when we get with Saw 11, I guess I don't know if they've confirmed that Hoffman will be like prominently in it, but he has to be. He has to be in this one.
He was in the end credits. I feel like he has to.
It's like I want to see more of that. I want to see the two of them butt heads. That'd be so wonderful. That'd be so great.
Everybody wants that because they know like these are the top 3 characters that everybody loves in the franchise. Let's put them all together and give them more screen time together. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, we've already seen what a wonderful thing it is to have Kramer and Amanda get a chance to have actual focus screen time together. So this is the one where now when I watch it, man, do I fucking hate Hoffman even more, just because I see finding out what was on that piece of paper that was teased at the beginning of or in Saw 3. We never knew what the hell that piece of paper was.
Yeah.
And to the creative's credit, we always see people involved with that letter. We see Hoffman put that envelope in the desk. We don't know what's in it, but we don't get a payoff for it until now, which I got to give credit to the creative that they keep littering images of that to remind people that thing is still in play, but they don't reveal the truth until 3 movies later, which I think is pretty damn bold of them. And in my opinion,
who knows if it's a move that they made because after 4 and 5 sales for Saw were kind of tanking, so they were like, how do we revive this with characters that people liked that we already killed?
Yeah. Well, with Saw 6, Saw 6 was the first one that underperformed, actually. Saw 5 did really well, but Saw 6 underperformed. And a lot of it, at this point, it was franchise fatigue, but there was also a factor that, yes, Paranormal Activity arrived on the scene, and people were, that was the new kid on the block, and Saw was kind of on its way out. And unfortunately, because that Saw 6 underperformed, which really pains me because it's so freaking good. It's got so much good in it, and a lot of good stuff that actually has been alluded to in later Saw films. So that's hurts. It hurts. But yeah, this is the one where now after Saw X, I'm like looking back like, fuck you, Hoffman, fuck you, you bastard. You didn't see them in Mexico. They were adorable.
Yeah.
You weren't there.
But it's wonderful. This Saw brings up the experimental treatment that we get back in X.
That's
so
right.
It's cool that they alluded to that here.
Since we already gave one part of the synopsis of Saw 6, go ahead and give us the other aspect of the plot of Saw 6.
The target is an insurance company appropriately named Umbrella Health. Because, all companies named Umbrella are good, law-abiding citizens.
Well, the DVD company is pretty great.
Oh, yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. Hey, they gave us a special edition of the 1993 Super Mario Brothers. They are okay in my book.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just don't give them science or
Yeah, just no
hold over
science.
people's lives.
No, nothing like that. What are you talking about? We're here doing a podcast about movies. Movies own us. They have hold over our lives.
Yeah, but they're
Yeah,
wonderful.
they are.
They're not killing me, I don't think.
Yeah, I suppose. So, yeah, this is an insurance company that has very dubious practices in terms of who they clear for coverage. And I know that this was, well, I know this one actually got some praise because it was the first time the franchise actually wanted to focus on being topical. Because I do know that there was some insurance scandals happening during this point in time. I don't know. I'll have to Google that fucker later to find out if there was ever, if this was based on any kind of real incidents. But there was talk how some insurance companies were deliberately denying coverages to some people because of bullshit reasons, claiming pre-existing conditions. In fact, the focus of this one is someone named, I believe, William,
William
who
Easton.
William Easton, who is a grade A bastard,
Mm.
denies a guy coverage because 30 years prior he had a cyst in his mouth and he had oral surgery. 30 years prior.
Yeah, what a connection.
Yeah. Yeah, but he denies him coverage for heart surgery, and as a result, of course, the man dies. But this, I think, was probably one of the best executed twists, like the best sleight of hands. Like they could have done. It's alluded to the fact that William has a family and that he's apparently absentee from the family. And you think it's the usual thing, like sleeping around with another woman. Hell, you even think, because we also have a reporter in this one who is haranguing Jill, among others, who's like, actually, I think this reporter kept popping up variously, or in various instances, like anytime they needed reporters in the prior movies, like she was always there, like in the other movies. But I think this is the first time she actually gets center stage. But you find out that she's a tabloid reporter who has been like over sensationalizing the Jigsaw killings. But now she's finally, things are coming to roost on her side, and I love that you think that she's some woman that he's sleeping around with. You don't know who she really is until like the tail end, and you're fixating on this family, this wife and son.
Who you think, I think you're supposed to think they're his.
Yeah.
Like because he says, the son says like, oh, or she says, we're here because of your father. And so you think he's the father.
And you think with the reporter on the other side, you think, oh, he's sleeping with the reporter, but his wife and child are here. And you think this is all going to be, and you think they're going to do live and die because it's like, you're cheating on us. You want to leave us, you bastard. It's like,
right.
Yeah. So in the trap's progression, we see him pretty much judging like everyone who's on his staff, like his immediate staff, starting from the first trap, I will say, kind of made me feel bad because the first guy is just some guy who's a chain smoker.
Yeah.
Who's the janitor.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's the janitor, right? So I was like, why? Again, some of these people, I'm like, why do they deserve to be here? What did the janitor do?
Apparently Jigsaw's, or I guess Hoffman. Or then again, I guess if Kramer planned, no, Kramer actually did plan this one.
Yeah, the folders that Jill has, you start to see that they are targets in this plot.
Yeah, and in this instance, no, this was all his, but he did say that this guy was a chronic chain smoker, and basically, and every attempt everyone had to tell him knock it off just fell by the wayside. So basically there's a guy, I guess a person much like the cutter in Saw 1, the fat guy in the razor cage, I guess is kind of in that category of someone who has such disdain for their own life that they're just throwing it away on vices, I guess.
I mean, with Saw 1, like before this whole plot and franchise bloomed, it seemed like he was just targeting people who generally just didn't appreciate their lives, whether that was being a drug addict or cutting yourself or I guess chain smoking, but it feels like that's just a vice a lot of people have.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and then you have Lynn who was on antidepressants, and it's like, because she has depression, dude. I mean, that's depression. Something that speaking from experience, that's not something people want, and they want to. The whole point of depression is that we want to live, but we have to keep reminding ourselves of reasons. That's the heart and soul of it, you know. Yeah, but in any case, this is the one where I think apart from that, even then that trap still works just in terms of just like you're holding your breath alongside him. I mean,
I was
I
just gonna
admit,
say, do you do that? Because every time I watch the movie, I actually test myself to see how painful it would be for me. Like I hold my breath, and I see
yeah.
how many squeezes would I get if I had to quickly like try to hold my breath the whole time.
I think I did actually. I think I remember I did like the first time I did, I was doing it.
Hmm. Yeah,
Kind of thing.
let's see how long you'd last.
Shall we do it? Shall we? No, no. This is not gonna.
Fun
This is not gonna.
podcast, guys.
This is not gonna. This is not gonna read at all. If someone's driving to work, like going, did they just go quiet? Did they just go quiet on us? Yeah. So, but even then, every single trap in the trap plot in this one, to me, all of them land. I think this is probably some of the best traps like in the franchises on the whole. Because each and every one of them even have yourself going, what would I do in those scenarios? Because the next one is the one where he has to choose between the very healthy non-entity file clerk and the other one, his secretary, who, or I guess what I think she was a secretary or something like that, who was a diabetic, but she also had a family that relied on her, kind of thing. So it's the whole purpose of everything is just to test the hypocrisy of his policies surrounding who gets coverage, who doesn't. And it's ultimately, and this is kind of the problem in general with society, is the idea of there's such a disconnect with the customer to the people providing benefits. You don't think about who you're affecting with your decisions. And I do like in this one, Jigsaw actually does confront him with the consequences of those decisions in this scenario. Because I myself, actually, I work in a pharmacy, and right now I'm working in shipping, so I'm just packaging the things. But I used to work in the hotline where I had to actually talk with the patients like over and over and over again. So that's where I had to listen to a lot of sob stories and a lot of people just bawling because they're worried that they don't get their life-saving medications and everything like that. So I think I may have had a little bit of personal stake in Saw 6, which may explain why I really enjoyed this one a lot, because I understood where its intentions are. Because yeah, it's a bit of a bitch when you have, because right now nowadays the medical system is fucked, and we need help to be able to pay for all that. I'm actually very grateful about my insurance has actually been as great as it is, because I've been able to do CPAP therapy and actually been able to do blood work and all that stuff, which normally that would cost me somewhere in the realm of mid four figures.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. But because my insurance has actually been pretty great, I've been able to do all of that with like little to no incidents. So,
very cool.
But fortunately, I didn't get my insurance with Umbrella, so we're good. Yeah. I don't know how you're doing on yours, but
I'm not with Umbrella, that's for sure.
yeah, definitely not with Umbrella. So I suppose before we get into it, I'm pretty sure I have a feeling your favorite trap in this one's going to be the same as mine.
Oh yeah, I didn't ask you your favorite trap on the last movie.
Did I? Or did I even say that?
Yeah, what is your favorite trap? In
Oh,
5.
I think I kind of alluded to it with the circular saw.
Oh, the ending.
No, the circular saw where they had to put their hand in there.
Yeah. Like the final
Yeah.
realization. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, that one definitely, because honestly, any trap, very few traps in the Saw franchise make me go or anything like that. But that's one that does make me do it, because they do such a great job lingering on it, and just Julie Benz and the other actor just helping each other, like, we're gonna make it, and it goes on for so long, just and I'm like,
right up the arm, like, how long are we going?
It's like, stop, he's already dead.
Well, you're gonna be if you keep cutting.
Yeah, I know. Well, he says, you can survive with 4 pints. So we're putting that shit to the test.
Yeah, but you got this open, gaping wound in your arm now that has to keep bleeding. Like,
yeah.
Cool.
And you said yours, right? What was yours in Saw 5?
I actually, like, I think of them all, I thought the electric bath was the most disturbing, just because, like her eyes were open, and then like the electrocution made her wiggle, and it was just like hooks all over her. I was like, oh god, it's so disturbing.
Yeah. No, that's, well, and also that one's just fucked up just on principle, because of the fact that friggin' Britt just ruthlessly just kills one of them without even.
Done.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, that is just nasty. And
Oh,
even
talk about it.
yeah. Now, oh, actually, a good segue, a good thing leading into the traps of Saw 6. This one kicks off with a really good one with two people forced to give up portions of themselves. Yeah. Well, not they basically say like whoever can contribute the most of their own flesh to the scale, and whoever can outscale each other in the friggin' trap. But a cool bit of trivia is that the actress who survives it, let me pull up her name. She was on a reality show called. Oh, here we go. Yeah, VH1 Scream Queens. Her prize was that she got to win being a trap victim in Saw, and not only that, she actually and she actually does get
a breakout role.
Honestly, I wish the best for her because she did churn out a pretty damn good performance. Actually leading to one of those great moments that calls out the bullshit of Saw's whole philosophy, because Hoffman comes to her in the hospital and she's like, "What am I supposed to learn from this?"
And I feel like that hurt him because he was like, "Damn, I was trying to create an apprentice and it didn't work." Like, oh man, she didn't learn anything from it. Oh no.
Yeah, and even better, this we're cheating a bit because she popped. Actually, it's pretty cool. They bring her back for a little cameo scene in Saw 7, and she still has the same attitude, which cracks.
Oh yeah, she's just like, fuck this. Like, yeah, because it's not gonna have the same effect on everybody. So I liked seeing somebody who didn't get like tormented and brainwashed into this whole mind of thinking. It was just like, well, some people are just like, it just fucked my life up.
Yeah, it's like in the end, the only thing that benefited me is that I got freaking handicap parking now.
Right, but she did understand that they were bad people.
Yeah, well, even then, I don't think she really thinks that about herself. I think she's just firmly believes that. But then again, even the guy in that trap scenario said, "This is all your fault. I'm blaming you. I'm not dying for you.
I'm not dying for you." Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Scream Queens season was hosted by Shawnee.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Oh, is that streaming anywhere? I gotta watch that.
Yes, let me find it because I did watch it. I watched the first season just because she was hosting it.
Okay, and was that? I mean, was it just a big old reality show just to test who can actually like survive, kind of thing, or?
It's on Tubi. Of course, it is. I forgot about that.
Bless you, Tubi.
I love Tubi.
I love schlock.
Them.
They got great schlock, but they also got some great quality shit as well. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool that she survived that. Well, that she ended up winning, and she got actually a really great opener to the movie because that was the cold open of the film. So, all right, we've drawn it out long enough because. All right, so what is your top trap in Saw 6?
I had two because I couldn't decide between them. The shotgun merry-go-round.
Yeah, that's mine.
Because of the chaos, but I also like the acid spikes just because of how brutal that is.
Well, we could definitely save the acid spikes talk later, but yeah, let's focus on that shotgun carousel. That shotgun carousel is a symphony of psychological fuckery right there. So for those who are unaware, the scenario is this: William has this group of people who are like the epicenter of his operation, who find every single little nook and cranny. If they're more than anything else, they're looking for always these loopholes to not give people coverage. These people are like the worst of the worst of his company.
Yeah, so, they're like high-fiving each other. Like, I've never seen a company act so evil, like out in front of each other, just like, I found it. We can't high five. Like, these guys are just evil.
Yeah. So they are now on a kids merry-go-round, perfectly situated, 6 people, each of them staring down a shotgun, and it is up to William to decide. And because William's whole algorithm guarantees only 2 out of 6 people guaranteed coverage, now he has to stare that algorithm directly in the face and decide which 2 among the 6 are going to live. So I thought it was such a beautifully executed moment because on one side, he's got to have to make the choice, kill 4 people. He'll have to stare at them in the face, but have to make that decision amongst the people who are going to die. And I was just like, man, it's like this is one of the Saw scenarios I would never want to be in, because it's not enough that I I'm saving two people. Even my assuaged guilt of saving two people is not going to be surmounted by the fact that I just had to kill four people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just the way, and I just love that last bit where he saves the second one, but there's one guy left, and he's just like, yeah, you're
You look at
bullshit.
me. You look
Yeah.
at me when you kill me. But it was
The-
also like a psychological, like you got to see these people turn on each other, man. Like you got to see the real them and how they were just like, your policy's bullshit. Like I never liked, like, yeah, you're
yeah,
making
and
it easy
one
for me to
was
kill you, bud.
one was screaming, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant.
Oh yeah, no, she's not. She's lying. Like,
She's
yeah, just
lying.
the worst of these people came out of them, and it's like, oh man, human behavior at its
Yeah,
finest.
of course, my headcanon,
Hmm.
I think she was, and I think it was his baby.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I think he was, and I think he's married. I think he's like, yeah,
Oh,
that's my headcanon. She actually is pregnant. It's his baby, but he's married. And so, yeah, there.
took care of it. It's fine.
I took care of it
Took care
right
of
there.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Oh, it's so beautiful. It's it's I think to me it's like I think one of the greatest moments in Saw history. I think it's the thing that really secured the movie in among my favorite. But then I think it's after that we get to the final reveal that the wife and son are not his kids. They are the family of the guy he screwed over, and that's I remember watching the kill count on this long time ago. I deliberately did not watch it because I just so in the hopes I forget. I forgot about this twist.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
when this twist came along, I screamed. I was like, "Oh, that's
Yeah.
fucked up."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was it? What was your organic reaction when you first saw that?
I probably relief because I was frustrated with the whole what is this live or die fucking acid thing going on? Like it doesn't do anything, and why is that? And I'm like, what's with these two seemingly innocent people being involved in this trap? And I'm like, oh, okay, they're not really in a trap. They're here to make a choice. I got you. Which is,
Mm-hmm.
have we seen that before? Have we seen like victims of something? I mean, I guess you got the couple, the domestic abuse couple, but like, have we seen
Yeah.
innocent people get to choose whether or not somebody lives or dies because they were wronged by them, like to this degree?
Um, I'd have to really think about that.
Because the whole time it's just like, oh, in the end, you don't even get to choose whether you live or die. It's these people's choice, and you
Yeah.
fuck them over.
And that's just a crazy notion that you have someone's life in your hands. And
Hmm.
these are people who obviously are good, loving people who are now
Yeah.
being given a brutal choice.
Which I'm kind of
And
glad, like, this son was more like angry because I was like, she's not going to be able to do it, but he can. And I'm like, this
yeah,
guy doesn't deserve to walk away, especially because
this
of what he did to that family.
yeah, this guy and the whole beautiful thing about this whole trap plot is that this is about whittling down a horrible man,
Yeah.
showing him the consequences
Hmm.
of his philosophies and his reality.
Which
And at the
all these endurance tests, like this guy would be just a mess by the end of this movie. I can't believe he's
Mhm.
still walking with all the holes in his side and stuff. Like, god damn, you got some
Yeah,
endurance.
there is one thing, and honestly, it's worse in Saw 7. There was one trap in this one where I was going, 90 seconds is way too short. Was the whole steam maze trap.
Yeah.
So it's like
Oh,
you're
we're gonna get to
expecting.
those traps and what I think about them.
Oh yeah. Oh, we'll definitely get to those. But yeah, the weakest trap in this was definitely the steam maze in my book because I'm like going 90 seconds. You're asking a person to navigate through that the maze. That's tricky in one spot. But then you're expecting them to do open surgery to cut a guy open to get a key
I
out.
know, right? Oh yeah, there's a whole second part of this.
That's a big ask. Well,
Yeah.
it's like recently I've been playing Mortal Kombat 1, and they have this thing now where you have to beat the shit out of these overpowered ones, and you have to go through like not just 2 rounds, you have to go through sometimes even go through 5 rounds,
Oh
but
god.
they don't tell you how many you actually have to go through. And
Uh-oh.
here's one where I'm actually like, okay, all right, I'm good, all right, I did. It's a 5th round, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
It's like that's. And I was like, oh, really? You're gonna ask her to do this? And that's she already freaking did her job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of thing. But then again, she
We'll
was
get to those.
yeah, well, she was the publicist. Well, I think she was the one who was kind of helping him spin something. So she was the person who kind of carved her own little little
Oh
bit of
yeah.
evil. So yeah. So
Oh
no, the
yeah.
only person who I think is pretty clear who definitely deserved to live was the old lady whose family, with the family. So she
Hmm.
definitely, yeah, I would have felt bad. She'd had, but then again, I do feel bad for the other guy who, Jigsaw says this person, is a non-entity. It's like going, oh wow,
Which
wait,
is
what do you
funny because
mean?
I was like, oh, you're showing lonely pictures of him sitting on a bench by himself. Like, does this guy not have a friend in the world? What?
It's
You're
like
just making fun of this poor guy.
I was like, I refuse to believe this guy has literally no one in his life.
Right?
We interact
Nobody
with
knows
people
this guy
every day.
exists.
He's a
Yeah.
young guy. He's a young
Yeah.
guy. He hasn't gotten a chance to really go out there and meet people and socially interact. Very clearly, John Kramer never watched Doctor Who in his life because then he would be
Yeah.
learn the true value of a person's life.
Yeah, that seemed a
You
little
know?
off for John to just be like, clearly you should choose the woman who has a family. It's like, but why?
Yeah.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
What?
He doesn't have a
Yeah.
family yet. He could get one.
Yeah. I was about to say he could get one. I mean, how do we
What
not
the
know that she's
hell?
a? I mean, did you? I mean, what are we finding out? Maybe she's like a hardcore right winger Christian. She.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Never went into any of that.
Yeah. Then again, this was no, this would be around the time of W. So, we for all we knew, she voted for him. So, she could
Yeah.
still never mind. We're not going there. We're not going there. Yeah, and so we've been focused so much on this trap plot. We're actually, there is ultimately the other plot that's happening at the same time where we have Hoffman. The
Mhm.
wolves are definitely at the gate. People are not buying the lie about Strom, obviously.
Yeah.
So he's now trying desperately to maintain his identity, but unfortunately, he is leaving a trail of bodies in his wake because we also find out in this
Oh
one that
God.
Perez is still alive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And even worse, this is also where we find out the forensics about
Seth Baxter.
Seth Baxter. Yeah, it's here we find out that they're starting to get wise that Seth Baxter wasn't actually a Jigsaw victim. So yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
um
they bring him into the room. They're decoding the voice to try to figure out what it sounds like because he's got it all
hmm,
jigsawed up and it just sounds like John at the beginning. But they're standing in this room of three different law enforcement officers and they're repeating the term over and over again. Right now you're feeling helpless. Right now you're feeling helpless as she's trying to decode the voice. Right now you're feeling helpless. And it's just he's sweating and they're circling him because I feel like they know at that point. Obviously, it's why they brought
yeah,
him here. That's why they're like, we're gonna trap you in this room and we're gonna have you be there when we figure it out too. And
yeah,
he's trying to figure out how to get out of this, which my God, you get to see just at the beginning. It gets way worse later on, but the beginning of him just knifing people in the neck and throwing coffee in your face and murdering a whole room of people in a police station.
yeah. And we will soon find out that knifing people in the neck is Hoffman's go-to.
That's his move, man.
That is his Mortal Kombat sweep right there. That
I was
is,
like, how many people does he knife in the neck by the? Oh my God, he's still
yeah.
going. People like
Oh
knives
yeah.
and necks in this whole series.
Now I definitely have to say it. You know what? Erickson and Perez kind of brought it on them. I mean, you could see Perez was already suspicious of Hoffman, but the fact that they say like, "Oh, we're going to involve you in everything. Everything we know." It's like,
Yeah,
really, dude?
yeah,
You
everything.
just, yeah. It's like at this point, you should be locking every door to find out the fact whether or not it's true that your own guy was a
Yeah.
Jigsaw apprentice. Like, if they were able to get one of your guys,
Mhm.
what's they're saying that one of the cops isn't? Yeah, it's like that logic is pure soap opera logic, and it drove me
Oh yeah,
crazy.
oh,
It's like,
100%. Yeah,
yeah, could not
it was
get
just
over
there
that.
to make him sweat. But I was like, I kind of feel like because they were even like talking to him early on with the whole like, oh, Amanda did the angel trap, and she's like, but she's 107. She couldn't have done this by
Yeah,
herself. Like, I think they were
yeah,
suspicious of him even back then.
exactly, exactly. So it seems so well, and yeah, Strom was the one who's, but
Mhm.
and I can see where their thought process of Strom being the apprentice could get in there, where it's like, well, he's very quick to like flick the blame onto other people,
Oh,
so
sure.
it's
Oh,
like,
and he kept doing.
yeah,
Oh, Strom did it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Don't
Strom
look at
did.
me. I didn't have anything to
So
do with this.
yeah, well, ultimately we get to a resolution where Jill Tuck, uh, so we find out the truth that in that box was not just 6 envelopes. There
Mhm.
was a new and well, I guess functionally improved reverse bear
Stupid.
trap.
Yum. I don't know if they thought they were being clever. Oh, people are gonna love the new reverse bear trap. They love the old one. They're gonna love this one.
It's
It
like,
looks so
nah,
uninteresting.
it's so, yeah. Well, then again, I mean, I guess it's like a compact one that you could fit in a box or something. But I
Just
suppose
ship it to
that's that.
Dragon Con with me.
Yeah. Actually, see if we can get a matching one for Lynn.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that'd be sick. If Link
That would be
could
pretty.
walk around with a new trap.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
and
Well, I
like
mean,
rip up their face.
yeah. Oh no, that's well.
Well, that's
Yeah.
later on now.
We'll save that for later. But yeah. So on one side, it is pretty awesome. Well, this is another instance where they did have multiple endings
Oh,
because on one side they did want to wrap everything up at this point. They did want to say that this was supposed to be the end for Hoffman, like he was supposed to die
oh,
here, but they also filmed other endings like the one that we end up getting where Hoffman pretty much survives by the skin of his by actually
the
quite
skin of his
literally by the
jaw.
skin of his teeth. Yeah, by
Yeah.
the skin of his teeth.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there was a part of me like going, how the hell is he going to get out of this? But then another thing about this franchise is that people really love smashing their hands to escape or
Smashing something, yeah.
smashing something to escape, and
Mm.
it seemed pretty odd, and Hoffman seemed like the kind of guy who's going to have no problem smashing a part of himself
Oh
in order
yeah.
to.
Dude is just
Yeah.
he's just a bull in a china shop when it comes to
Personally, I think
surviving.
ultimately though, I think Jill Tuck should have just at the second she had him at as Mercy, I think she should have just buried a bullet in him or just kill him. Don't do this
It's
pageantry. You don't.
gotta be poetic. John wanted it this way.
Yeah, I'm well. Ultimately, in the end, he's not giving him a means to escape. He wants Hoffman dead at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, this is the one time I'm pretty sure John's like going, "No, you were always intending to die. No, you have to die."
Yeah, like you're too wily. I can't control you now. Like you need to go.
Exactly. So it seemed to me, it just seemed strange that he gave him a survivable scenario, to
Yeah,
do that. So
yeah.
ultimately, Jill Tuck's kind of an idiot for not staying in the room and not like
I mean,
stopping
yeah.
him from. Honestly, she should have just stayed behind him. At the second he tried doing something like that, just grab him by the hair and like pull it back, like saying,
Yeah,
"No, bitch.
right, right. No, stay. Stay,
Yeah,
stay.
stay, stay."
Got
Yeah, I can see why Jill Tuck's not a popular character on account of like her very but then again, this is not her life. This is not meant to be her life. She's not supposed to be making these decisions. The whole idea of John was that he was supposed to be making these decisions for her so she would have an easy life afterwards. Yeah, that ain't gonna work, dude.
We also kind of
Yeah.
breezed over the fact that we find out in this one that Gideon's death, Amanda was involved and actually responsible for it.
You know what? I was actually gonna save that for last because
Oh,
yeah, that was but no, that's fine. I want to get to it because I was gonna pick your brain about this. And there's another thing to me that I think if it is true, and I kind of hope they get into it in 11, I actually believe John always knew.
it is open for that interpretation, even though it's never said, because
Yeah,
he never
and
saw her there.
yeah,
You never show him seeing her there.
but knowing him, he would knowing about Cecil, he would know about like known accomplices. And hell, that would probably be what initially baited him to Amanda to begin with.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure, especially because Amanda and Cecil were both at Jill's clinic, and that's
Yeah,
how they found each other. So it's like it's not impossible that John was like, "Oh, Amanda knows Cecil. She was probably involved in why he was there that night trying to get drugs because they're drug addicts."
exactly. And I think because she passed his test, I think he forgave her
Yeah.
after that because she saw that she was actually very passionate about reforming. So
Hmm.
I I I like to believe he knew. I
Yeah.
actually, yeah, I would love it if they get into I'd love it if they get into it into Saw 11. I don't know if I don't know how they could spin it, but honestly, I would love it if they get into that just because
Hmm.
it would make the whole way it develops with Jigsaw and Amanda and in relation to Hoffman, I think it would make it so much more tragic.
Yeah. He made his
Yeah.
own family because they took his away.
Yeah. And then one of the other family members obviously had disdain for the other, and Cain slew Abel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's, God, I hope they get into that.
Mhm.
Actually, I'll tell you what, when I meet Shawnee, when I meet up with Shawnee at Spookala, I'll ask her.
Yeah. Just pick her brain about it. Do you think they've
Yeah.
started Like, do you think they finished writing it or?
Yeah. Well, originally they were supposed to, it was supposed to come out. They
Yeah,
were
this
gonna
year.
do the whole thing. They were gonna
Hmm.
do the whole year after
Every
year thing,
year.
but apparently there were delays in filming. I wouldn't be surprised if it has something to do with the strikes. Um,
Sure.
so they probably delayed filming, so it's coming out next year. And I'm well also because the same writers who did the previous one aren't coming back for this one, so I think they also have to find new writers
Oh, okay. Cool.
as well. So
That makes
we'll
sense.
find out. We
Hmm.
will find out in due course. So I think we already kind of jumped on favorite traps and everything like that. So I think we've milked Saw 6 for everything it's worth. I think we have to bite the bullet and just move on to personally my least favorite,
Mm.
the most woman hating edition of the franchise, because god damn they're nasty to women in this one. Saw the final chapter, aka Saw 3D, aka Saw fucking hell Hoffman.
Fucking Hoffman's such a psychopath.
Yeah,
Saw
aka
saw the parody is what I saw this movie as. It felt
mhm.
so wrong and off.
Yeah, well, one aspect that definitely felt off about this was the 3D. Saw
Oh, that
6
never ages
was,
well too.
yeah, especially in this, well, it's strange because I've seen movies that were shot in 3D. They still, like ones like Dread, for example, that one was shot in 3D. Like they actually did use cameras and everything for that. And that movie still looks amazing to this day. Whereas this one, I don't know what film stock they were using or what kind of post-production equipment they were doing, but there's a kind of a clinical look to this film. There's almost kind of a superficial look to it that I am not fond of
Well, so I was
at
gonna
all.
say, I have the notes of the blood is very pink because it's supposed to work with the 3D, which looks
Mhm.
cringy nowadays. The lights are too bright. That yellow and green
Yeah.
tint is only visible in one trap. The acting is weird. The framing is too close. It's like a soap opera where everybody has close-ups constantly, and it feels
Mhm.
like this is a parody of itself.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of reasons for this. Now, I didn't say it in the last one, but Saw 6 and this one were both directed by Kevin Croydert, who would go on to direct Saw X to
Oh,
great
okay.
acclaim. So yeah, he's same
Right.
director.
They feel like three different movies.
They really do. I mean, Saw
Huh.
6 really does feel like it's in keeping with the other ones. This was truly like a big dip in quality compared to, because Saw 6 was so good, and then just Saw, and I was actually at the end of Saw 6, I was so pumped. I was like, yeah, let's move on because Saw 6 was so good. And then we get into this. And then the first trap we get is easily one of the, it's like
It's the
the idea,
strangest thing in the world.
I suppose it's like a testament to the idea that Hoffman really has gone off the deep end at this point. He's been betrayed by Jigsaw.
Mhm.
He's and he's now on the run. So I think there's a little part of me like going, I think he's just going to keep doing this in a way to kind of like pervert it, to deliberately pervert John's plans.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel
And
like the public setting of it was weird.
yeah.
Giant crowd of people just gawking at it, like nobody's trying to help except for one woman with a briefcase. It's like the police took
Yeah.
forever to get there. Like this is not in any way realistic. And it's
Yeah.
so
When
such a
it,
departure from the realistic-esque situations people found themselves in the previous saws.
and beyond that, how the hell did Hoffman set this one up? I mean, that
In the
you
middle of
do
the
not,
night, like people are still gonna see
people are
it.
still gonna see it in Cityton or wherever the hell these whatever cities.
Yeah. Saw
Yeah,
City,
wherever the hell.
USA, like what?
Yeah. It's like there's so many things that were just wrong about this trap. I mean,
Oh
admittedly,
yeah.
there was a fun dark comedy to it. Like it would be a fun short film, like a Saw short
Yeah.
film.
Which is
But
why I was like it's very parody, like it's all about like a love triangle. Like why?
I could have seen this in, even though I'm not fond of the franchise, I could have totally seen this in a scary
Yeah,
movie.
that's what I meant. Is it felt very scary
Yeah.
movie, like right on top of like what she was wearing. It was just like, I mean, you guys know what you're doing.
It's like
What
this
is this?
to the credit of this franchise, they never ever got exploitative in terms of like, doing a breast count or doing anything like that.
No,
This
and in fact,
yeah.
in three, the woman who gets frozen, the reason she's naked is because they said they tried putting a shirt on her and it felt like it was more disrespectful because like wet
Yeah.
t-shirt thing, you know. So they did
Yeah.
that to make it less sexual, actually.
If the idea is we're supposed to freeze her to death, I mean,
Yeah.
it, That would be
And I
a
feel like
good look.
it felt and looked more like a hanging pig. It's like the meat plant. That's the whole
Yeah,
theme of Saw. So it's like no clothing.
precisely. So already right off the bat, this movie just is not giving us a good impression just with this first trap. So,
And even
um,
with like the credits, a year earlier, Final Destination 3D came out, and it felt like this was ripping it off really badly. And that was
yeah,
also the weakest Final Destination, with all the 3D effects not aging well.
yeah, this was definitely during the height of the 3D boom,
Yeah.
where there were films that were done filmed specifically in 3D, and it is a known fact that there were a lot of major films that did post 3D conversion, and you can actually see a difference for films that were shot in 3D versus films that were post converted. Like very rarely did a post converted film ever look good. I mean, off the top of my head, I think the best looking 3D films during that time period. Obviously, Avatar, that was like the gold standard.
Right.
Tron Legacy was pretty damn great. Actually, Dread, I still maintain Dread is one of the best examples of a film, of a 3D film that did the "Ooh, we're in your face, we're in your face," but worked
Right.
really freaking good. Though
Yeah.
another one I have to give love to because it was one of those corny ones where they put it in your face, but it was so much fun. Fright Night, the remake of Fright Night.
No, I've never seen it.
Oh, give that a go. I love it.
Yeah.
I actually, it's blasphemy, but I kind of like it better than the original. Um, yeah, blasphemy. But then again, I like the second Fright Night better than the first one as well. So,
Oh,
that's
okay.
fine. I'll be
Breaking the
blaspheming
mold.
all over the. Oh yeah. Oh God.
Aha.
Oh please. Yeah. So yeah, completely off topic here, but yeah, that was the 3D boom. So any major tentpole feature, they if it wasn't in 3D, they were like, it's got to be in 3D because you got to make that
Yeah.
shit sell. And I enjoyed it, but this is what I saw as a franchise I never want to see. I never would have wanted to see in 3D.
No, no.
Yeah,
Even like
yeah,
John's voice, all the recordings were bizarre sounding. They were weirdly echoey and just strange. I'm not
yeah,
sure what the point of that was. It didn't sound scarier, it just sounded off.
yeah. Though, that's not the least off thing about John in this movie. Let's talk about his hip with the kids makeover that he does in one.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
We're
That's young
talking,
John. You see his
yeah.
hat? It
Oh
was
no.
backwards.
Oh yeah. And meanwhile, you got Steve Buscemi coming in with a skateboard, like going, "What's up, kids?"
John did it first. John did it first.
Yeah, yeah, I know you want me to cosplay that at some point. So
Hey man,
if we're
it's a
gonna
good
if we're gonna,
casual.
it's a good casual. It is a good casual, but I still got to do the makeup. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Nah, that'd be like if we're going to a nightclub afterwards, then I'd like just not do. Actually, no, I as a joke, I'll just not do the makeup and I'll just say like, "What? I'm younger now."
Yeah, the hat worked.
The hat
It works.
works. It
You're
totally
fooling
did.
everybody. You really are, yeah.
So I suppose we should probably get into the synopsis on this one. This one has a
Yeah.
wacky one. So you go ahead and try with Saw 7.
So the target of this one is Bobby
Dagan.
Dagan, who
Dagan.
is who is gaining clout, being a fake Jigsaw survivor. He's got a book, he's on TV, he's in the news. He's just boasting about this fake trap he was never in. And he actually runs like one of my annoyances. He runs a Jigsaw survivor like AA meeting where all the
Yeah.
survivors of the previous traps come and talk about it, and we get to see a bizarre trap that's never existed before. One of the women talks about her experience
Oh.
hanging over just weird like saw like in a bizarre void of a room. I'm like, when was this? Who are you? Like, where did this
Yeah,
trap come from?
her dangling over it with another guy over a bunch of very clearly like lawnmower blades.
Yeah, I was like,
Like a
where is
big
this room?
yeah. Where does a cop on his salary get a room full of lawnmowers to like
In just an empty warehouse somewhere. I was like, what is this?
yeah.
Weird shot from above showing this. I'm like, that's strange.
Hmm.
Um, but the group bothered me because in Saw 1, I think Amanda was supposedly the first survivor, and it was kind of like a
Hmm.
big deal that she survived, and because of it, it resulted in her, her whole
Yeah.
story. when you got like a group of survivors that we've never seen before, and it just felt so shoved in there.
One thing I will say was the cool part about that scene. If you look, some of those are survivors we have met.
Oh yeah, because we've
Yeah.
got
We got the old lady from Saw 6, the
Yeah.
the diabetes survivor. Well, we have the asshole who started the fire in Saw 5. You can see his arms in a sling
Oh, okay, yeah,
as well.
right.
So he's there as well. And yeah, as we said before, the woman who's like, yo, look, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Yeah.
Yeah, you see her again. But we have one that we have to talk about. Dr. Lawrence Gordon
Of course, he shows
appears
back
in
up
there.
again.
Yeah,
It's
now if there was a wonder as to why Cary Elwes never came back to the franchise, because he openly said he had a good time making the first film, so it wasn't a matter of oh god, I'm distancing myself from it. No, apparently there was a salary dispute from him being in the first film because that was such a low budget film. There was obviously a lot of legal issues when it came to his salary in the making of that film. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that again, anyone who knows better than me, tell me otherwise. But apparently, there is something to do with when a movie is of a certain budget. There's kind of an expected, like in any kind of contracts, I believe there's kind of like an expectation that a movie like that's only going to make like so much money. And of course, Saw became like a freaking
blew up.
phenomenon.
Yeah.
It blew up. So I think because of that, and because Cary Elwes was the most high profile actor in that movie, I think that it ended up causing something of a breach of contract, and it took forever to get that settled. And around the time we get to Saw 7, it finally did get settled.
Yeah.
So that's why we now finally have Dr. Lawrence Gordon finally coming into play. So do you feel like it was some missed potential that we didn't get Dr. Gordon consistently through the franchise, or do you feel having him here at what was quote unquote the finale, did that feel right to you?
I felt like that was an okay move, I think, because I think everybody just assumed he was dead. Because I mean, how far are you gonna get when you don't know what happened? How far are you gonna get when you're missing your foot and you're bleeding out on the floor? And we did never see a body or anything like that. And we've seen the hallways in which he would have crawled to die or whatever. So I guess it was always just left open, like he could be alive.
Well, we do see that what he did is he found a hot steam pipe and actually like
Yeah.
cauterized the wound.
Mhm.
I figured he was going to make it out because again, he's a doctor, so I think he knew what to do in order to deal with that, because I'm pretty sure he's done amputations.
But I mean, the state of mind he was in, man, he was
Yeah.
so far gone.
Oh yeah.
But it was cool to see him back. It was nice to see like, oh, it's a friendly face from Saw 1.
Yeah.
In this, in this
So
franchise that has gotten a little out of control.
oh yeah, out of control in a big way. And speaking of out of control, that's pretty much what Hoffman is at this point. Very,
God.
very clearly hell bent to get revenge on Jill Tuck for her betrayal. And admittedly, all of this was in aid of Jigsaw, trying to like allow her to kind of get away scot-free with everything and be avoiding being implicated as an accomplice. But unfortunately, Hoffman got away because Jill Tuck's an idiot, and now is doing a big old trap plot to distract the cops so he can infiltrate and ultimately get his revenge on her. So let's go ahead and focus on this trap plot. Now, you're right. This trap plot is, I like the idea, the kind of, I don't want to say stolen valor, but it's definitely that idea of people trying to misery baiting, or definitely misery profiteering, where people will pretend that they're some kind of trauma survivor so that way they can kind of so they could profit off of it. Meanwhile, you have people who are actually traumatized who don't want the spotlight.
Yeah.
Of course, we had talk shows during that time. And of course, we had people on Maury Povich like talking about their trauma, profiting off of that, or selling tell-all books. And it leads you to wonder, it's like people who have legit trauma, they tend to not want to talk about this shit. And yet here you are.
Yeah. And that was like the major difference, like that interview that he was in. I was like, this guy's not acting like a trauma victim at all. Like, the interview with Amanda versus him is night and day of like, she doesn't want to talk about it. It's hurtful to talk about this again. Meanwhile, he's like, yeah, I had to put hooks in my pecs and I just did that shit. I was like,
and it's like, I'm going to show off my pecs.
Yeah, it's my like, scars. Look at these things. Like, you're not a real victim.
Oh my God. No, when he did that, I was immediately looking to it's like, that woman's missing her arm, dude.
Yeah, yeah. What did you
That
do?
this guy's got his arm in a sling because he had to mutilate his arm.
Yeah, so why was he getting so much? I mean, I guess because it was his fake personality of
Yeah,
look at
kind of
me, I
thing.
survived.
And because of this fake personality, he has this wife who is actually very supportive, who is totally
Oh yeah.
unaware of his lie.
Hmm.
And he has this, yeah, then she's a wonderful woman, very supportive and all that good stuff, which is going to lead to one of the things that pisses me off the most in this movie. You know what it is, but it's just, again, this movie hated women. Apparently there was a period where the creator behind Saw really hated women, because we
Yeah.
even get a rare dream scene
Oh yeah.
where Hoffman engineers a freaking rocket car to run into Jill Tuck while she's in a uh obviously not wearing a bra nighty or kind
Yeah.
of thing, where, yeah, I was like going,
And she just explodes, and I was like, that's the goofiest thing I've ever seen. It was literally just to show off the 3D effect too, like the whole
yeah,
coming at you thing. And I was like, it's so obvious what you guys are doing.
exactly. And it's so gratuitous because, again, this is not the kind of franchise that does dream scenes.
Oh,
It just
well,
feels
except for an
wrong.
X. It does, yeah.
Well, really,
But the one
I
in
can't
X
remember.
was the first trap. Well, a
Oh, well, see,
dream.
I
Imagine.
wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call that a dream scene. That's more hit. That's just showing the inside of his mind as he's watching people
Yeah,
do that. That's just what's going on in John's head
sure.
all the time. I don't count that as a dream scene.
Yeah. The only other
Yeah.
one that there was cut from the movie, and it was built off of Amanda's guilt about Adam. She dreamed that he came at her as a ghost, and that's what led into her suffocating
Hmm.
him. But they cut that scene, so that's the only other dream scene I think existing.
Yeah. Again, there's a reason some scenes get deleted, and frankly,
Yeah.
um, you know, chain rocket car boob time, I think was, yeah, that definitely needed to get cut. It
It
just
was
did not need to
so out of
happen.
so far we've seen two deaths where or a dream and then the opening trap that just felt so out of place for a Saw movie. Again, it felt like
Hmm.
a scary movie more.
Yeah. And then, but then it obviously scares her enough to seek police
Mhm.
protection. And here we get probably easily the most worthless cop character in the entire franchise,
Oh
Gibson.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Who
Yeah.
was apparently there the whole time. He knew Hoffman from back in the day, but we've never seen this guy before.
Never seen this guy before, and he's got a prominent position with the police, and yet I was like, no,
Who are you?
we don't need this cop. We don't need this
It's like
cop character. Or maybe if you hadn't have killed like all the other like great cop characters in the
they
franchise,
kept
maybe we
doing
wouldn't
that.
have
They
to deal with
kept
this
being
shit.
like, shoot, we keep killing all of our characters and then we make another sequel. What are we gonna do now?
Yeah, exactly. Because up to this point, the Saw franchise had also been police procedurals.
Yeah,
I guess they felt obligated to have a cop plot
yeah.
at the same time. But it does make sense that there would be, because yeah, Joel Tuck goes to the cops for police protection. So Hoffman decides to set up a trap scenario to distract the cops while he infiltrates them.
Yes. And I will
So,
say the trap felt like it was the most disconnected from the rest of the movie from all the movies. It was not even supervised by the end of it. It kind of just felt
mhm.
like, what is the point of it? I was like, the cops aren't even here. Like, what's happening with this trap? So
Mhm.
disconnected from what's going on outside of here.
Are you talking about the opening one? The opening one
I'm
again?
talking about the whole game in the movie. It's like nobody
Oh
was
yeah.
supervising this whole thing
Yeah, this one, well, again, this seemed like
by the
this whole
end.
thing was to distract the cops, lure them to this location so that way because by this point, of course, Jigsaw has become such a major commodity of where everyone knows who it is. So obviously the cops are hell bent to get them. I get his idea is like create a big enough show to get the cops, as many cops out of the station as possible so he can infiltrate.
But there were
I
so
get
many in the station when he infiltrated it. Like, what were you guys doing all standing here? It just felt like nobody cared about this game at all.
so many necks that needed to be slit.
So
So
many
many necks.
stabbed necks.
Yeah, so many steps. Oh dear God.
I should have done a count on how many necks he stabbed throughout the whole franchise. It was a lot of necks.
A lot of necks. Definitely. Definitely.
No neck is safe.
No, none whatsoever. So, well, oh no, and not just necks, but entire internal organs. Now, I will say this about the trap plot. Some of the traps are some traps actually range from pretty good to just full blown mean spirited. Like the one I was like looking at going, this one actually seems like a survivable one, like one where actually could work, is the one where he has to do the like leg press
The
or something like that,
calf
where he has to,
lift.
yeah, the calf lift, where
Yeah.
he's getting jabbed in the side in order to
Mhm.
prevent. I'm like going, you know what? This is one where I was actually going, this could work. This could work. He could do it. And no, he
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
And I like that, but it's like it's realistic as to why he's flinching, but at the same time, it's like
Mhm.
there's but my other problem with a lot of the other traps in here is that the time limit just seems so impractical that it's like there's no way some
Yeah.
of these would ever work. Well, then you
Yeah.
got the one. Now, if you had to ask me a trap that really made me go wince, like I would even say more than the syringe pit, is the one where his publicist has a fish hook
Oh,
in
yeah.
her stomach attached to
Mhm.
a wire, and he's got to pull it
Oh,
out of her
yeah.
throat, and
Mhm.
she has to be quiet doing that. I'm like, there is no win on this scenario, and because even if he did pull it off, and even if he did get her out of there, her
Yeah.
interior, she's going to be internally
She's gonna be
bleeding.
bleeding the entire time. Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, there is no win for this woman. She is going to
Mhm.
die no matter what on this one, which
Yeah.
again leads me to think Hoffman really has gone over
Yeah.
the deep end where he doesn't really care anymore,
Mhm.
which again leads to the end of this whole trap plot, which ah, fucking sweet innocent woman
Yeah.
in the
Did
scenario
not
for
deserve
freaking
that.
did not deserve to be given the concentration camp treatment. That was just not
The
cool.
the Iron Pig, which is such a goofy trap, honestly. Like
um
Hoffman built that, this CGI pig, did he?
Yeah, it was the other one where his friend was blindfolded and they had to walk across those beams. And I'm like going, again,
Yeah.
good setup, good scenario, you know, good way to do it. And to its credit, they actually do play up the fact that they're this close. But
Mhm.
even then, I'm like, that's time limit still seems way too short.
Yeah. And at that point when I saw that trap, I was like, I know what this all reminds me of. This all feels very video gamey, and I believe the reason is
Mm,
because the game came out a year before, and that very scenario, walking over boards when there's like a lower level, it was in the game. That,
really?
like him swinging out of that cage like he's a fucking Laura Croft. There was a lot of actiony scenes where I was like, this. Even the mist, the gas that you're talking about, the heat, the steam,
Oh
that's in the
yeah,
game. That's a
no
scenario in
kidding.
the game. You have to help like close off valves as somebody blindly walks through. It's from the game. So I was like, you guys are ripping off the Saw video game? The really poorly rated game that came out a year earlier?
Oh, they actually did that for Saw X as well. The
Mm,
actually the trap where he has to carve into his arms with the
yeah.
duct taped scalpels. That was in the video game as well.
Yeah, but that was way better. That felt more like a Saw trap than this like action adventure angle that
Yeah.
they were going for.
I wonder if a lot of it had to do with the actor playing Bobby Dagan. It was Sean Patrick Flannery, who most people know and love from Boondock Saints.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I can rationalize. He has a history with action, so I guess they wanted a more dynamic
Yeah.
actor being in this. I mean, to his credit, he does give a good performance. And I will
Mhm.
say, I mean, as much as I hate the idea that his wife, I would be okay with it if his wife survived. If his
Yeah.
wife survived, we'd be fine. But it would have been kind of cool that. And I do love the idea that in order for him to save her, he's got to basically recreate the trap that he claimed that he survived.
Yeah, which I think it's funny that he's like, your pectoral muscles will hold your weight. And I'm like, they don't though. That's just a straight up lie.
Yeah. Well, to me, I think what would have been awesome is that he succeeds in saving her, but then, yeah, at the end of it, his pectoral muscles rip out and he falls to his death.
There you go. That's a better one.
I think that would have been so much better. I think it would have been
Mhm.
poetic, but it just, I think that's my other problem with this movie. This movie's just mean.
Yeah.
It just, I know it's funny to say for a Saw movie, but every other movie, like the traps actually have a purpose. Like a lot of people in these traps are horrible people who were testing the metal of their character. Most of the people in this scenario, and even then, this guy, what is he doing? Previously, we were attacking an insurance company for actually hurting people who were responsible for a derelict building burning down, which cost lives. We're attacking a guy because he's
Because he
a
wants
con.
clout. Yeah. I was like,
Yeah,
really?
It's like he's nothing special. There's a bunch of people out there who are doing that shit.
yeah.
Yeah. And even then, he's
just
not actually. I mean, as much as I hate to give credit to people who do cold readings, claiming that they saw the dead or talking to someone's dead relative, they're not doing anything that's actually like physically harming people or causing people to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Ultimately, in the end, this trap plot. Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which,
And,
even though this is Hoffman's game, John does approach Bobby earlier. That's the whole backwards hat scene.
oh yeah.
And it's odd to me that he doesn't recognize his voice as somebody who likes Jigsaw that much. Like, you don't recognize this very obvious voice, and how he's telling you that you should not lie. Wink, wink.
Yeah. Oh, the one scene where Tobin Bell shows up. Well, and here's the other thing I noticed is that this whole trap scenario, obviously John didn't really think to put this one into action because because this is one very clearly Hoffman saw that he had on the back burner.
Mhm.
And he's like, well, I could use this in order to distract the cops. I mean, the one
Which also a bigger, better distraction was the car trap.
yeah, oh,
That
and
actually
even
distracts him way longer.
and we also get additional catharsis to see a bunch of Trumpers die. So let's face it, you knew if they survived, you know which way they would have voted. Let's face it, but
That's my favorite. That's not why, but that is my favorite trap in this movie because it's the only one that felt like a Saw trap. Like the lighting was even right. The yellow green lighting was only present here. I'm like, why is this the trap that feels like it makes the most sense?
The scenario was even survivable. Like you actually believe and I will say, and also had some of the best makeup effects because I will say just the whole image of him ripping off his skin. I was like, that's
the muscle underneath the whole back.
Yeah.
Woof.
And again, because of pure sadism, I was enjoying watching every minute of it just because I'm like, yeah, you get that. You rip your skin off. You see how people are gonna judge you with no skin, buddy. People are gonna be all like, oh, fuck you, muscly.
Fuck you, muscly. Yeah, I don't know how he would have, even if he did get out of there, I don't know how he would have walked away with his entire back exposed like that.
I'm pretty sure skin grafts would have been involved on that sucker. Probably a lot of skin grafts, but even then. So yeah, I think we could just tell everyone at home, respectively between the two of us, that's our favorite trap. Yeah. For the catharsis and the fact that it's the one that actually felt in keeping with the rest of the franchise. I think we could just wrap all this up because I don't think we should dwell on this any further. I mean, even Gibson, as worthless as a character as he is, even he dies worthlessly. Ultimately,
by the end, Hoffman just plows through a precinct and just kills everybody in his path. And I'm like, nobody can stop this guy? He's equipped with a knife.
I mean, there's a reason we call him the Hoffinator because, man, he just goes through that place like the freaking Terminator and just like slaughters everyone in sight. And captures Jill and goes old school, puts the Amanda Young trap.
That bums me out. Don't touch my trap. I love my trap.
Well, I get the rationale too, because technically we've never actually seen that trap come to fruition. Like we've always seen people escape from the trap, but we've never actually seen
now that's the iconic trap. No other trap since then has been like everybody knows that's the Saw trap. Like that's the trap.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for all the loyal audiences who have sat through these movies, I think they wanted to reward them by actually showing what happens when that trap works. And here we go. And then Hoffman, thinking he's finally, free and that no one could possibly catch him now, all of a sudden, Three Pig Boy, he gets pigged by like three people.
He gets pigged.
Yeah, and one of them turns out to be Dr. Gordon, and as it turns out, he's been in on this whole thing starting from the first film. Yeah. And how do we feel about that aspect of the twist? Do you feel that he actually contributed any? Well, they do reveal that he was the one who put the key in that one dude's eye and Saw 2.
Everybody needs a doctor, so I like the fact that John had a doctor on his side who was able to help out with anything that needed to be medically inserted, stuff like that.
Well, I'm pretty sure he was the doctor on call to help the two survivors of Saw 5 to help with their arms. I wouldn't be surprised if. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
he needs a medical staff for sure.
Exactly. So that it does work for me, and it kind of makes me sad that actually, this is a good behind the scenes point. Part of the other reason why this movie feels so half baked is because it was.
Yeah.
Because they actually planned for this to be a 2-part finale.
Really?
Yeah, they intended this to be a big epic wrap up, like for everything. Unfortunately, because Saw 6 underperformed, and because it wasn't and because at this point people were starting to get tired of the franchise, they said, you know what, let's just wrap it all up. Let's just put it all together. So they rushed production to just do the final movie, and then that was the end of it. So that's why the movie doesn't feel as fleshed out. And I know that Kevin Greutert felt that way, and I know that a lot of the writers felt that way too. And I think Lionsgate just said, let's put some butts in the seats, let's put some spectacular deaths, and got to be in 3D. It was, I think, the one time the franchise was compromised by studio meddling.
Yeah, Lionsgate, they did a number on the franchise by the end of it. Just
And,
with all the rewrites and things, just to keep giving us more. We want more. I want another sequel, even though you just killed everybody. Let's go.
Exactly. There's a little part of me like kind of wishing that it ended with 6. Like, I feel like that would have been a much more satisfactory way to
There were
wrap it
several
up.
points. Like, it could have ended after 3. It could have ended after 6. We didn't need 7.
Exactly.
Because
7
they
really
needed to make 7. They were like, okay, make it the last one.
Yeah. And even then, unfortunately, there's because we've seen that Adam survived it, and because we see that freaking Matthew survived it, unfortunately, we don't actually see Hoffman die. So yeah. But then again, you, in your wonderful faith, you still firmly believe Amanda Young is still alive.
Yes, because if Gordon's around giving everybody medical attention, he could have slipped in there and snatched her up and saved her as well. We didn't see her die to the point where she's got an autopsy.
You know, I mean, if Tap was able to survive getting slashed in the throat, yeah, so it's possible. You know, we could. I mean, I think the key thing we'd have to do, though, because she did get shot through the neck, it's probably going to fuck up her vocal cords. So
So she probably with a raspy voice.
Yeah. You know, so I don't know. You know, I think in your sake, I think that's what they. Okay. Taking what we're going to tackle in the next installment of this podcast out of the equation, where do you think they would have gone? Because this is not a finale. This is open-ended as fuck. Where do you think they would have taken it from here? Because it's very clear that Jigsaw had so many more followers than Hoffman even knew about. So where do you think they would have taken it from there?
Well, the next, I think, obvious one is Gordon taking over, because he's going to be the next fan favorite apprentice. And then there's speculations about who the other 2 pigs are. People think
they confirmed it. I think it's the 2 boys who survived at the beginning.
No, I didn't know that was confirmed. Okay.
I think they confirmed that.
Seems random to me, but sure.
Yeah.
More pigs, sure, why not? Okay.
More pigs.
So I mean, so he has his own like staff that he can run these games with, and I think he's more loyal to John than Hoffman ever was. So I think he's the next heir of the Saw franchise.
Yeah. And speaking of next eras, that will be our next episode, where we will talk about the 2 outliers of the franchise, Jigsaw and Spiral from the Book of Saw. So with all this all together, we are done talking about the Hoffman saga. Let's go ahead and rank these 4 entries.
Okay.
So I think for me, obviously, Saw 6 is my number 1, Saw 5 is my number 2, Saw 4 is 3, and Saw 7 is the last.
That's exactly mine too.
All right. I had a feeling we'd see eye to eye on that one. In the midst of these 4 films, what was your top trap of all 4 of these movies?
Are we ready for that? I honestly think it's going to be the merry-go-round shotgun, just because of what we discussed and how chaotic that is and the human nature of it.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that too. Shotgun carousel for the win. For the win. So, all right. So for everyone else, thank you for sticking through this long form episode of Legacies of Fear. So we have 2 more episodes of Tackle Jigsaw, possibly 3 when Saw 11 inevitably comes out. But in the meantime, did you watch any? So now we do our random recommendations. Have you seen any new horror films that you want to tell people about?
I just watched a screening of The Front Room with Brandy in it, and
Oh, how was that?
it's very good. The actress playing the evil stepmother is very good at making you hate her.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was excited when it was her because she was amazing in Poor Things. So I was like,
Mm,
so I was really excited to see her in this. Yeah, yeah, that's one of, and not only that, it's really cool seeing Brandy come back to horror. So it's kind of
yeah.
awesome that she's come back to do that. Great. No, I'm excited now. I'm really looking now. The one I'm really looking forward to is The Substance
Oh,
coming
Sam,
out.
you told me about
Yeah,
that. Now I'm excited about it too.
yeah. I mean, and the advanced reviews that I've been hearing from the festivals have been like raves, like saying this is next level. Like basically, a lot of them saying Demi Moore's back
Nice.
after this month, so that's great. Actually,
Wonderful.
I finally. Oh, here's a good thing for everyone to know. Mike Flanagan's Hush has finally been released out of shackles of Netflix and is now available on digital. So it is now available on iTunes. It's available on any sort of on-demand service, so you can watch it there. And even better, Shout Factory has announced they're going to release a special edition of it. Yeah, have you seen Hush?
Yes, a while back when it came out.
Yeah, so basically Netflix released it from captivity and now it's available for mass consumption. And recently I also jumped at, because after Dragon Con was done, I did my staycation. I actually went to go see Afraid
Oh, I
as
haven't seen it
well.
yet. I really want to see it.
Honestly, well, I mean, it's PG-13, so it's not like it doesn't go hardcore, but it is. I will say, if you have fears about AI, this film does a pretty good job exploiting all the reasons you should be terrified about AI. So, but it's one of those. It's a fun little souffle. I mean, I'll say Blumhouse has not been having a great year. It's definitely not having a Megan year, but this one compared to Imaginary and oh, what was the other one they had? Oh, and Night Swim. This one was definitely the better of those
Good, good.
this year. Yeah, and then just before we started, I watched a new one on Shudder called The Demon Disorder,
Ooh,
which I will be doing a video on. It seems like now we're doing demonic possession in a scientific vein because this one had some great body horror, but also had a really great like kind of through line about the idea of people who run away from their issues with family and how they're forced to come back to kind of resolve it,
mm,
kind of thing. So that's on Shudder now, and good stuff. If you like some good Australian accents and great creature feature body horror stuff and some demonic possession, you get your money's worth in this. Not that you have to pay for it because well, if you pay for Shudder, so
yeah, I don't.
huh? Which you don't.
I don't.
Oh,
I don't
Shudder
have
loves everybody.
subscriptions. I know, but it's money.
Oh, I get you. No, well, I mean, the good thing about Shudder is that it's either $5 a month or it's you pay for the whole year.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So whichever one is easier for you. Yeah, so that's how that works. All right.
Cool.
So for everyone else, definitely follow Emily on all their respective socials, which go ahead and tell them.
You can find me on YouTube at Lady White Rabbit, and you can find my cosplay Instagram and TikTok at AZ Amanda Young.
Excellent. Yes, and definitely follow all of those because we have a lot of great coverage from Dragon Con. Especially for the both of us. This was a banner year for the Dragon Con horror group.
Oh yeah.
So, oh yeah. Actually,
It's gonna
what
get
was the
better
final
every year.
what was the final count at the photo shoot?
It's like 212 or
I think
something like that.
something like that. But no, it
Mm.
was a huge year and definitely way better, much better organized than it was like even a couple of years ago. So,
Oh yeah.
I see nothing but wonderful things for our good friend Jason. So, oh, Jason Fantastic who runs it. So, but yeah, follow Emily so they can at as Amanda Young, so that way they can show off all the cool shit we did. See my drunken ass dancing Gangnam Style there as well. And in the meantime, stay tuned for the month of October. We are going to be doing our discomfort flicks, where we are talking about the movies we love, regardless of quality or box office or all that good stuff. And in the meantime, if you wish, I say in the meantime a lot, but if you are interested in delving deep into the dark bowels of human imagination, ask yourself the simple question, what's in the podcast?
for joining us on this edition of What's in the Podcast. If you find yourself hungry for more deep cuts into the gloriously morbid and macabre, you can also find us on TikTok, Blue Sky, and YouTube at Narcotic Casserole. You can also follow us on Instagram at Narcotic Casserole 25. Also on Twitter. Yes, Twitter. Elon can suck it. At Narcotic Casser 1. NARCOTICCASSER 1. Follow us if you dare.